What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Today I'm doing something I haven't done in a long time, but it's actually one of my most popular series on the channel, and that is the step-by-step combo tutorial where I really slow down these combos. And I'm going back to one I did a while ago, which is Dryton, but this time I'm using the Herald of Ultimateness combo, which is obviously the persistent one now, being that Union Carrier is banned. So, without further ado, we will literally take this step by step. If you guys don't know what I'm doing here, I just find combos. I'll find where I found this one. I'm pretty sure this is like the standard route, but anyways, I will at least link where I found this one at. And I may end up doing some gameplay videos for this. Let's say like this is like a pretty average hand, pretty normal, I would say. There's so many ways to get here because there's a way to, there's an emergency teleport for the deck, and the field spell also searches an e-teleport. So a lot of times they're going to be able to, make this hand. So I thought it's one each of all of these. And if you guys don't know anything about Drytrons, well, the idea is that it's all about ritual summoning, but, modern. They special summon themselves from the graveyard, from the hand, all over the place. And also the ritual spell can add itself back from the graveyard too. So many different good things to do. They're level 1s, which is nice. And another great thing is these things cannot be infinite and permanent. The reason being is that their effects activate in the hand and the graveyard first, and then they special summon themselves. Not that makes I think it makes a big difference. I mean, infinite impermanence is one of the most popular hand traps like ever. So, all right, let's take a look here. Where we take this one. You're going to activate the effect of Alpha first. So you contribute one other Dryton card or ritual monster. All of those have those effect. Special summon this card from your hand, and then every other card has the secondary effect, which is different. So for this one, when you activate that effect to tribute, you add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So we'll take a look. So you can special summon the Alpha. Oops. And Alpha is going to add you this ritual monster, which is Cyber Angel Ben 10. This is a card that was limited, I believe, on the last ban list, or maybe 2 ban lists ago now. But this card says, the effect is not that important. If this card is tributed, which is what you'll be doing quite a bit, you can add any light fairy monster from deck to your hand. And as you can imagine, that is a very good effect in this ritual deck. Like I mentioned before, you can activate these from the graveyard. So Zeta is going to activate tributing the Ben 10. So we're going to get 2 effects off here. So his secondary effect is it lets you add a ritual spell from deck to hand. So you're going to be able to trigger that. And then Ben 10's effect is going to trigger, letting you search a card. And this time you're going to add to your hand a Diviner of the Heralds, because you don't normal summon in this deck like ever. Like, you're always going to want to use that effect, right? So this card gives you the flexibility, to have a powerful normal summon. First, you're going to XYZ summon into Dryton Mu Beta Favnir. So when you ritual summon this card, you can detach a material from this monster required for the ritual summon, which is insane, absolutely insane. And it's not once per turn, that effect either. And then you can only use each of these effects once per turn. If this card is XYZ summoned, you can send 1 Dryton card from the deck to the hand. So already, obviously, very good again. First of all, being able to attach materials as ritual summon, and being able to, Foolish Burial any of your Dryton monsters to the graveyard. And on top of that, a quick effect when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control a machine ritual monster, you can attach a material, negate that activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Not that I think that is useful here, because I think you end up using all the materials. But in any case, it was XYZ summon, so we're going to go ahead and Foolish Burial your Dryton or Delta Altius. Sure, Atlas. Let's call it Atlas. This card obviously has the same effect as the others, but this time, when you tribute, you can actually draw a card as long as you have a ritual spell in your hand, which of course you do because you searched out. So you can draw a card. Here, obviously, it's fantastic, right? You draw into an Ash Blossom. It's not always going to be that way, but in this case, that's what I did draw into, which is cool. You kind of gain some of your advantage back. So that card that we searched earlier, this Diviner of the Herald, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send a fairy monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. And on top of that, you're increasing this card's level by that monster's level, which will come up in handy and be very, very important. So you're going to send from the extra deck, obviously, your Herald of the Arclight. This card is an Omni-Negate, but you're not ever going to be able to Synchro Summon into it, of course, because you can't go into leveled monsters. But when it's sent to the graveyard, you can have either a Ritual monster or Ritual spell from deck to hand. So again, all of these like very blanketed effects, which help you out very much. And now, you know, the boss monster of the deck, the beast itself, and 2000 attack, which is very important. I don't think they intended it to be this way, but it ended up working out. Every time your opponent activates either a wood special summon, activate a spell or trap card, or a monster effect, you can send a fairy from your hand to the graveyard, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And of course, as you can see here, it is not a once per turn. So every time your opponent activates something, you can negate it. And keep in mind, you will also have 2 other cards in your hand, because I started with 3, just to show you guys the combo. Now you can activate, the Meteonus Dryton, which is just the ritual spell. Detaching, from one of the materials of the XYZ monster, keeping your advantage on the field, to special summon back this Cyber Angel Benten. And if I didn't mention this before, besides being able to add itself back from the graveyard, you can also ritual summon from the graveyard too. Again, just a really cool deck. I actually really enjoy what this, this deck does. Alright, so you can add that back to your hand. All you have to do is take 1000 attack away from one of your monsters on the field. Now you can overlay, and I know what you're thinking, 2 level 6 monsters. Well, this is a level 2, but remember when I talked about the card in the beginning, you sent a level 4, so now it is a level 6. And you can go into a Beatrice, which lets you Foolish Burial anything in your deck to the graveyard, which is a great effect, of course. You can, so we'll deal with that in a second, but now you have the Ritual spell, which is, again, not once per turn, only adding itself to the hand is once per turn. Now, once again, you're going to detach that second material to Ritual Summon your Herald of Ultimateness. Now you can use the effect from the graveyard. This one we sent, I believe, pretty early on, of the Gamma. So what Gamma allows you to do is tribute to Special Summon itself and another Drytron, from the graveyard, which is really, really neat. So you have 2 of those. Now you can, take your Delta and your Gamma, which is not too important. You can also use the Zeta and go into an IP Masquerena. You can convert the other level 1, whatever you choose to make that be, into a Link Kuriboh to protect your Herald of Ultimateness. So basically, during your opponent's turn, again, you'll have 2 other cards in your hand. You can go into something like a Nightmare Phoenix, a Nightmare Unicorn, basically anything. And also, of course, you're protecting with the Link Kuriboh. Next, you're going to have the Beatrice to send to the graveyard. Again, it can be anything. And Ava, what this card does is, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish up to 2 other Light Fairy monsters from your field and or graveyard. Add the same number of level 2 or lower Light Fairy monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. And there are some very good targets, I can assure you. So you're going to go ahead and banish that in the Benten. And grab another Diviner of the Heralds, or I think it's called, Diviner of the Herald. And a Herald of Orange Light. This card says when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send this card and 1 other fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So technically another form of disruption, although it is noted that you probably won't need it because of Herald of Ultimateness. But let's say, they hit you with that Dark Ruler no more, you still have disruption the other way. There's basically no way they can stop you at this point, from those powerful monster negates. So that's going to be your end board. But, keep in mind, during your opponent's turn, whatever they end up doing, you can activate Beatrice once again as a quick effect and send another Ava to the graveyard. Ava's effect's going to go off. You can banish itself and another fairy to grab yourself another Diviner of the Heralds on top of another Herald of the Orange Light. So, as you can see here, you have insane amount of Omni Negates. You have, the Monster Negates in your hand, and I think there's also purple, which is Trap Negates, if I'm not mistaken. And basically your follow-up turn, you're good to go because, like I said, also in this video, all of your Drytrons can activate from the graveyard. I mean, you can special summon them again. You can go into something like Herald of the Arclight or not Herald of the Arclight. You can go into Zeus, of course, because you have something like Lyrillus, which can attack directly. But what I was trying to mention is Access Code Talker, which will end the game quite quickly, considering your Herald is a pretty beefy monster, and your Beatrice is also a pretty decently sized monster with good defensive stats. that was about as in-depth, I think, as you can get. I'm pretty sure there's like a few other combo lines, but this is the most basic one, and I think a good start for people who have no idea what Dryton does, or no idea how the deck works, or if you're just trying to, figure out what's going on after, the Union Carrier ban. But other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.